Being a YouTuber.
It's gotten, I would say, a lot harder.
You think so? Like,
Yeah.
how so?
Because, you know, we've had some instances in the past where the word YouTuber has not definitely...
Okay.
Yeah, being a YouTuber in Japan has definitely, in one regard, okay, it's weird. In one regard, it's gotten a lot easier because now Japan is finally, you know, settled to the point where there are big fucking celebrities in Japan who are YouTubers who are treated just as well as, you know,
If not
TV
more.
celebrities,
Like,
if not more.
Hikakin is like fucking royalty here.
Yeah, Hikakin's like a god here, right? Whereas there's the opposite side where I think for a lot of foreigner YouTubers like us living in Japan, it's gotten a lot harder because of, you know, certain events that happen in Japan.
YouTubers,
Yeah,
nuisance
Meiwaku
YouTubers. They made a whole fucking word for it.
Yeah. There's a whole word for it now of like nuisance YouTubers.
And this isn't just foreign. This is domestic as well.
Yes,
There's
of
been
course.
a lot of like notorious and infamous Japanese YouTubers who have also caused a bunch of trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's you know, I think for a country like Japan that is very, very quick to jumping to conclusions and almost like shoving propaganda, especially on things like TV, of like, oh, you know, we've taken a couple of these like very, you know, standalone instances and just generalized the entire subject and given you this whole image of like YouTubers are either fucking ruining the country or they're the next big thing. It's like there's no in between.
Yeah.
So if you fall into either one of those camps, then you're pretty much going to be there for the majority of your career.
There's a good chunk of some news stations that will like literally just have like a weekly segment of like foreigners who did bad thing in Japan.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy because a lot of the times it's like it feels like they're really grasping at straws to find something.
Yeah.
Like I saw one where they had like a whole fucking segment about this one guy, like 20, 30 minutes long. But this guy who, you know, there's some stores in Japan where you can get like frozen gyoza and you have to leave 1,000 yen.
Yeah.
He like didn't pay. And they made like a whole 20-minute segment on it. I'm like that's bad, and he shouldn't have done that. But does this really warrant a 20-minute segment about, is this really like the only crime that you could find?
This is why I hate Japanese TV.
Like, and I'm not trying to like tier list crimes here, but I feel like we must have ran out of foreigners doing crime that we could talk about.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then like sometimes I'll have other crimes where when you look into it a bit more, the story's a lot more complex than it seems, and perhaps like maybe the like, you know, there's sometimes like they have these you know, like they'll be like, oh, this Vietnamese guy did something fucking awful, and then it'll be like, yeah, but he was also practically being held hostage on like a farm where he was being paid like 100 yen a day.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, what's going on here? Like,
It's always like generalizing to like, you know, talk about a certain agenda that just works for them and their audience, right? Which is a shame.
But which is all kind of, we're explaining that because it's all kind of fed into the attitude of like filming in Japan. It's definitely a little different. You do have to be a bit more cautious with things, and a lot, you know, you have to be very respectful as always. But I don't think it's been, I feel like it really depends where I go. I feel like a lot of the time I've had an easier time. Sometimes I've had a lot harder a time.
Yeah.
And it really just depends who I'm working with. I'm very person dependent, but overall it hasn't changed that much.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say is that YouTubing in Japan has become a lot more saturated.
Yep.
Like there's a lot more YouTubers here now.
Definitely.
Because obviously we were here during COVID, and it was pretty much like us, Chris, Sharla, a couple of other people, but like in terms of like you know, but now it feels like there's fucking everyone and their mum is a YouTuber in Japan.
I've also
especially the short side of things.
Oh,
like
shorts.
YouTube
Oh my
Shorts
God,
is just like blown up,
and TikTok and stuff like that. Yeah.
But then it's all. I think that's also why, like, I think personally speaking, I've kind of tried to find my own niche, or I've gone to generally like things that require more money.
Yeah.
Like doing the Ozu experience.
The Mr. Beast method.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it's like, okay, now if everything that is normal has kind of already been covered, I don't want to redo or retread what people have done to death.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find stuff that's kind of interesting, kind of new, which either requires more work hours to get that thing done, or requires more money to spend to get the thing going.
See, that's fascinating, because like this year for me, I'm actually doing the opposite.
Yeah.
With my second channel, I'm going back to like old school J-vlogging. Because it's like, I don't know.
It's different though. It's different.
Yeah,
Like, where I'm trying to like cover something interesting and offer.
Yeah,
like,
no. I'm not saying what you're doing is
Yeah.
bad, of course, but you know, I've realized that like I think because now the whole like kind of just classic J-vlogging scene is definitely not as prominent as when I first moved to Japan, right? Like almost 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who just like miss just like the
Just seeing what
meat
you
and
done.
bones,
for sure.
cut and dry J-vlogging, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I've been having fun
I
with
mean,
that.
yeah, I just feel like there's less stuff that I can do. That's why I'm always doing like fucking crane games and lucky bags,
Well,
which
that's
I
why-
also enjoy doing.
Yeah.
To be fair,
That's why I'm also.
I
that-
like doing it too.
But
I
that's,
like
but
doing
that's
it.
also why, like, you know, I'm kind of bringing back the J-Voling thing because I've realized that some people just want to see shit, even
Their
if
life.
it's like kind of mundane.
Yeah, my daily life is fucking boring. I
Yeah.
don't fucking do shit.
That's why 5 years ago I was sitting in a room talking
About
about
anime.
anime,
5 years
and
ago.
now 5 years later I'm also sitting in a room
Talking
talking about anime.
Gaunt stands the test of time.
Except sometimes I'm now
On
live
camera.
when I do it.
Nice, nice. All right, let's do one more then. Let's
Yeah.
just,
Alright, final one. Here we go.
Final one.
Arcades.
um,
Hey, that's a good segue from your.
I mean, yeah. Look, I spent a lot of time in them. I mean, look, now
You become the crane game master.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at them. Not gonna lie. Spent a lot of
I
money.
definitely do not go to arcades as much anymore.
I don't.
Well, arcades have changed massively. So the
Yeah.
one thing that's changed, particularly over COVID, and it started around right before COVID, because you know I came here as a tourist, and obviously you've been here for a while. But arcades used to have like I don't know, obviously I didn't have this, but like let's say a handshake agreement where it was like half the arcade was games, half the arcade was purikura and like crane games,
Yeah,
UFO
yeah, yeah.
catches, whatever you want to call them. And now there's a lot of arcades where it's either all crane games, and I mean just all crane games,
Yeah.
or gacha in some form.
Yeah, I was gonna say like half of it would be like dedicated.
Yeah,
to
it used to
Fate
be
Go.
like the first,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
two
Remember that?
floors. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they had the Fate floor. Before,
yeah, the
which is
Fate
gone
floor.
now.
Yeah,
It used to be like okay, like if you went to a building in Akihabara, for example, there's a bunch of them that there's like maybe like what six odd arcades in Akiba that are pretty
Yep.
big. It would always be like the first two floors were crane games.
Yep.
That was always it, because those were the ones where they had high foot traffic. People would try and win prizes. They'd give up to 5 times and they'd leave. So they're big money makers. And then, you know, the real gamers, the real arcade enjoyers knew, you know, third floor was like basically the Fate game where it was like you had to buy cards.
Yeah.
I don't know what do they have a genre? What do they call? Basically, games where you had to gacha for packs to keep playing the game against
Yes.
other players.
instead of buying digital PNGs, you'd buy real
basically
PNGs.
gacha games
Yeah.
that were physical, and they
Yeah.
were half gacha, half like card games, half real games.
Yeah.
There used to be a whole floor for those. And then somewhere they would have a gambling machine, like the horse racing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth floor was like the fucking the
Rhythm
game
games.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they had the
The best
Mario
ones.
Karts.
Yeah,
They'd
yeah.
have the fucking some of the
fighting games. Yeah,
And then the fifth floor was normally the fighting game exclusive floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like just for fucking hardcore gamers who are
Yeah.
living there.
Yeah.
And that was like normal, you know, obviously there's some that are like 7, whatever, but that was like the normal split. It was
Yeah.
like 3-2.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming, at least not all in Akihabara, because, you know, Akihabara also, they do have a lot of games.
yeah.
But at least outside of Akiba, it's like, it's gone from either like that ratio to either 80% crane games to 20% games, or
Yeah.
just 100% crane games.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's just harder to find arcades with games because it's all crane games now.
Yeah.
It is.
I think what's happening is that they're going to just be completely separate, and it's going to be an arcade for games, or it's going to be crane games. I think that's
Yeah.
what it's working towards.
Yeah,
Because I think what happened is that they realized that tourists often only want to win something from a show they recognize
yeah.
or a property they like. And so a lot of the time when you only have like 2 floors, it's maybe conservatively 60 odd machines.
Yeah.
You know, you can only fill those up with so many things and prizes. So I think now they've realized, we can just keep people in there longer, playing more.
I think it's
There's more
also
stuff
just
they
the
like.
fact that, like, when it comes to a lot of those like arcade games, like, you know, the classics, like, you know, the Street Fighters and the Metal Slugs and all that
They just
kind
don't
of
make
stuff.
money.
One,
as
they
much.
don't make money, and 2, people can just play it on their computers or
Yeah.
their consoles
Also,
at home.
also, the barrier of entry is higher. Crane game, you just load up a few coins. You either get the thing or you don't. So with some of the arcade machines, do I need a card for this?
Bro,
Am I,
yeah.
Remember, like,
do I need to register?
The JoJo Battle Royale game?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like 400 yen. It's so complicated to just get in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like miserable from like
Yeah.
an experience.
A lot of the
trying to get
rhythm
into it.
games as well, it's like you usually need like an account or a card that's
Yeah,
attached to it, otherwise
exactly.
you can't save your progress. I will say though, the last time I did go to an arcade, which was quite a while ago, but it was sometime last year, I just went with Aki just because we were like going, we're like, let's just see what the arcades are up to nowadays.
Yeah.
We spent like a good couple of hours on the metal game 4,
Okay.
you know, with like all the casino
Oh, okay.
places.
Yeah.
Dude, fun as fuck. Like
I love the-
legitimately,
I love the Mario Party
really,
game.
legitimately, really fun.
Maybe you just like gambling, Joe.
It's like it's because like I never really gave them a try.
Yeah.
Because I always was like, because I don't really like going to casinos or
Yeah.
gambling or anything like that. But it's like, if you go in with the notion of like, oh, I'm gonna spend maybe 2,000-3,000 yen on some coins and then just
Yeah.
fucking throw them into the machine, see sparks flying.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Like you just kind of go in. I don't know how to play half the games half the time, but I'm just
Yeah.
like, fuck it, just chuck it in. Let's just see what happens. And I don't know. It's a good way to just play around with it. And yeah, I don't know. I've always neglected that side of arcades for some reason, but it's
Yeah.
good fun
Yeah.
if you have a couple. Rather than because like I'm not a crane game person.
Yeah.
at all. So it's like I'd rather lose money on something like that.
I normally
crane
don't
game.
play crane games off of camera.
Yeah.
Normally, I do sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Normally.
No, it's-
Immersion broken.
Yeah.
Mainly because I get flashbacks. And
Yes.
I don't like it.
That's work now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but unless there's like a prize, I won't play them unless there's a prize I want or someone else wants a prize.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll be
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
all right, let me handle this. See my
Yeah.
cent. But yeah, they've kind of opted from going, in places like Kyoto, Tokyo. They've realized they can just make way more money if they cater
Yeah.
towards tourists because,
Of course.
and the thing is that tourists they give up,
Yeah.
which they don't want you to do.
Yeah.
Because if you give up after 5 turns, they've got exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is they can like reset the machine. Now some other guy's going to come along, put $5 in.
Yeah.
What they don't want is you putting $5 in, sumasening, getting into a good position. Maybe you don't get it again. You sumasen again. You've got it in $10. That's like,
Yeah.
because they'll probably still make money from you, but you're in that area for a while and not making them like the money that they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, for sure.
They buy these toys in bulk, so no matter how quickly you win it, they're not losing money.
Or if you're in places like Akihabara, just go next door. And
Yeah,
they're usually
exactly.
selling what they have in the crane game for like 10,
Yeah.
1,000 yen.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you don't get that satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, the fun is winning it.
There's no
story, the
fun in
story.
that.
Okay.
It's the experience, Joey.
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise, let's just go on eBay. Yeah, let's just go on fucking
that's what I fucking do.
Rakuten.
Definitely, like if you were a person who always wanted to come to Japan and you've always wanted that day experience at an arcade,
Yeah.
come now, please.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how much time you have left.
Yeah, that is true. That is
Yes.
true. All right. Well, then overall, what would you say?
Better.
Better? 5 years long?
Life in
years
Japan.
on?
Life in
Fun-
Japan.
Life in Japan.
Yeah, better, man. Way better.
Like,
mean,
if you
I'm
take
still
it
here.
all together?
I mean, we're
I'm
still
not-
here
I'm not
for
leaving,
a
bro.
reason. We're still here for
My
a
visa
reason.
ran out 2 years ago. I haven't left. okay, that's a joke. I'm
Trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I love it. I just don't think I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
I like it too much, man. It's so fun.
Yeah, of course.
It's convenient. Yeah,
Yeah, why
I'm
not?
gonna stay here for a few more years.
yeah.
I say this every year. I'm like, I got more years in me. Baby.
Got one more in me.
I got one more in me.